You ever get tripped up by English nouns? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're going to crack the code on one of the most fundamental and, let's be honest, sometimes super frustrating parts of the language. So, let's dive right in.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You think you've learned a rule and then bam, English just throws this total curveball at you. So why do some words play nice and follow the rules, while others just seem to make up their own? Well, that's exactly the puzzle we're going to solve today.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the basics, what even is a noun, then we'll get into the regular plural rules. After that, we'll meet the fun ones, the irregular rule breakers. We'll also get specific with proper nouns, and then we'll wrap it all up with a little pop quiz. By the end of this, you'll have the stuff down. Okay, first things first. Before we can even start talking about making things plural, we've got to be sure we're all on the same page about what a noun actually is. You can really think of them as the basic building blocks of any sentence.
And honestly, it's pretty simple. A noun is just a naming word. That's it. It could be a person, like father, or a place, like a park, a thing, like a pencil, or even something you can't touch, like an idea, love, or honesty. Basically, if it names something, it's a noun.
Nouns usually fall into two big categories. You've got your common nouns, which are general, think woman. But when you name a specific woman, like Maya, that becomes a proper noun. Same thing with city versus Paris. The big takeaway here, and we're going to come back to this, is the difference between general and specific.
All right, so we've got a handle on what nouns are. Now let's figure out how to go from one to, well, more than one. We'll start with the regular plurals. These are the ones that actually follow the rules. This is the easy part, I promise.
Okay, rule number one. This is the one you'll use like 90% of the time. Just add an S. 1 apple, 2 apples. 1 car, 10 cars. You just stick an S on the end and boom, you're usually good to go. Super simple, super effective.
But what about words that end in those hissing sounds? Like cha, sha, s, x. Think church or box. If you just add an S, it sounds weird. Try saying boxes. It doesn't really work, right? That's why we add es. It gives it a whole extra syllable, box-es, and suddenly it's way easier to say. It's actually a cool example of how pronunciation shapes the rules of grammar.
Next up, we've got the Y rule. So if a noun ends with a consonant and then a Y, like the RY in strawberry, you drop that Y and you add IES. But, and this is the important part, there's a catch. If there's a vowel before the Y, like in the word boy or day, you just ignore all that and go back to rule number 1. Just add an S.
Okay, this last regular rule is actually pretty fascinating because it's all about a change in sound. For a lot of words that end in F or FE, that soft f sound turns into a harder, vibrating v sound for the plural. So wolf becomes wolves. Life becomes lives. Seriously, try it right now. Put your hand on your throat and say f, then say v. You can feel that vibration, right? That's the change we're talking about.
All right, we've handled the nouns that follow the rules. They're predictable, they're nice. Now for the fun part. Let's talk about the rebels, the rule breakers. We're diving into the irregular nouns, the words that give English all of its weird, wonderful, historic character.
Yeah, this quote just nails it. With irregular nouns, it's not about rules, it's all about memory. So many of them are like these little linguistic fossils, They're leftovers from older versions of English that just don't fit our modern patterns. You really just have to learn them one by one.
So here's a classic example. Instead of adding something to the end of the word, the vowel sound inside the word changes. This comes straight from Old English. It's the reason we say foot and feet, or tooth and teeth. I mean, how cool is that? You're literally speaking a piece of history when you say those words.
Okay, next up, let's meet the unchanging crew. These are the words that just don't change. 1 sheep, 100 sheep. 1 deer, 20 deer. It's interesting, right? A lot of them are animal names, especially animals that were hunted or herded. Why don't they change? Honestly, it's kind of a linguistic mystery. But for us, the rule is easy. Singular and plural are exactly the same.
And finally, we've got these really rare gems. Just a tiny handful of words still make their plural with an en at the end. This is another direct link to Old English. We say children, not childs, and oxen, not oxes. It's not common at all, but it's a really powerful reminder of just how deep the roots of the English language go.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. We've spent a lot of time on plurals, which is great, but let's circle back to that other type of noun we mentioned way back at the beginning, the proper noun. And remember, the key word here is specific.
If you remember one thing,
And I mean one thing about proper nouns. Let it be this. You always capitalize them. Always. Think of that capital letter like a big flashing sign for the reader that says, hey, pay attention. This isn't just any old thing. This is this specific thing.
So let's just look at this one more time to really hammer it home. We're not talking about just a school. We're talking about Douglas High School. We're not talking about a company. We're talking about Coca-Cola. That capital letter is the key. It's the signal that we're talking about one specific, unique, named thing.
Okay, you've seen the rules, you've met the rule breakers. Now it's time to put all that new knowledge to the test. Let's do a quick pop quiz. Ready?
All right, first question. Let's start with a regular one. The word is life. What's the plural?
Yes, it's lives. You remembered that FE changes to vives. Nice work.
Okay, next question. This one's a rule breaker. What's the plural of mouse?
Mice, of course it is. That's one of those classic vowel change plurals. You totally got this.
And there you have it. We've covered everything from simple plurals like dogs all the way to those ancient ones like children. And we've nailed down the big difference between a city and Paris. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What's the absolute weirdest English plural you can think of? Thanks for hanging out with me today.